Welcome back, everyone. Memorials continue to be held for the 49 victims slain at the Pulse nightclub last Sunday. Later tonight, more than 20,000 people are expected to attend a vigil in Orlando in honor of the victims, preceded by a memorial. Joining me now from Orlando, spokesperson for Equality Florida, Carlos Smith. Carlos, good to have you with us. Let me begin with asking you what your organization is doing to help unite the Orlando community during this time.
Well, first, I just want to extend our thoughts and prayers with the victims and the survivors and their families. They're going through a really, really difficult time right now, to say the least, after this horrific hate crime massacre. Equality Florida is our state's largest LGBT civil rights organization, and we've been focusing our efforts on making sure that the surviving families and the victims, that they have access to important resources. Within hours of hearing about this tragedy, we set up a GoFundMe account that has shattered all fundraising records and raised over $5 million from over 110,000 individual donors around the world. And what's happening now is we have partnered with the National Center for Victims of Crime, who are helping us with the immediate disbursement of emergency funds to those families who have been affected. And I think it's really, really important for your viewers and for those affected to understand that we've set up a hotline, which is 855-4-VICTIM, where some of those people who are affected can call right away, and they can assist with the immediate disbursement of those emergency funds. Right now, there's a tremendous need out there. 100% of the funds that we have raised into this GoFundMe account are going directly to those victims and helping them offset these costs that have come from this horrific tragedy. Right. And we really want to encourage people to call that hotline, 855-4-VICTIM, so that we can begin processing them and get them the help that they so desperately need.
Let's talk a little bit about the LGBT community. Obviously, this is a very terrifying time, not just in the wake of this attack, but in terms of other incidents that we've seen across the country in recent months. I'm curious to know what your message is to the community, to the LGBT community, who are obviously scared in lieu of this attack at the Pulse nightclub. What do you say to members of the community who may be afraid about going about their daily lives?
Well, what we've seen in the aftermath of this tragedy is we've really seen the LGBTQ community and other communities come together in a show of unity. The Orlando community has sent the world a very powerful message, which is that we're not going to let this type of hate divide us. So Equality Florida and other LGBT advocacy groups have been partnering with Muslim and Islamic organizations and leaders, with Latino leaders and the African American community. And what's been happening is we're starting to see that folks are really upset about what has happened and are starting to form a plan of action for what comes next. And we know that so many leaders have come down to Orlando and have talked about how they are standing with the LGBT community, and we appreciate that support. But there's a very real way that they can take action today. For example, Governor Rick Scott and Pam Bondi could issue an executive order today with the stroke of a simple pen that would forbid and make illegal anti-LGBTQ discrimination in our state. That is something that will have a very meaningful impact and will certainly demonstrate that they understand that discrimination is wrong, and they'll send a very powerful message that Florida is a place that loves and respects everybody, including members of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, you are certainly setting a very good example in bringing the community together. Carlos Smith from Equality Florida, thank you very much for all the work that you guys are doing, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and I just wanted to say happy Father's Day to my dad, but also to all the dads out there who have suffered really, really horrific losses, and our hearts and prayers go out to them at this time.
Indeed, happy Father's Day to all. Thank you very much for that, Carlos. Well, that's all from me. Thanks for joining us. Richard Louie picks up our coverage from here. Have a great Sunday. Thanks for joining us.